and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into our YouTube broadcast of the IRS Radio Hour. Remember, IRS Radio Hour is sponsored by Open Tax Resolution. Sorry, I have an itch back here. Got to really address that. That's the most important part. But IRS Radio Hour is sponsored by Open Tax Resolution 312-664-6649. And visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. It's going to be your hub to fight the IRS. Attorney Stephen Leahy. Hey! He's going to get some water for me, too. Thank you. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Open Tax Resolution helps people recover their sanity after the IRS comes after them, because really it's a harrowing experience. It really is an intense experience, and the only way you're going to really solve your problem is by finding a professional, which is going to be Open Tax Resolution 312-664-6649. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate in Northeastern Illinois, give me a call, Jim Leahy with @Properties, 847-271-3695. I know a lot of people that can get you pre-qualified or pre-approved. I know a lot of people that can get you help if you have bad credit to make sure that you can go buy that dream home of yours. It's great. You know what's great about being on the radio? I know people. So give me a call, 847-271-3695. Attorney Stephen Leahy, thank you so much for the water.
I have learned whenever I do a speaking thing or a radio show, I always have to have water.
People don't understand it, but you get dry.
Yes. It's because you're nervous. I'm not nervous. I think we've been doing it long enough now that you're not nervous anymore. Is that right, Jim?
Me?
Remember the first time you were on the radio? At school? Was that at school?
Yeah.
Did you ever go on with your dad?
No, I never went on with my dad.
You went to the studio with him, but you never went on there.
That's one thing I regret. If I could change it again, I would love for the chance to go be on the show with my dad.
I did it.
How was it cool?
It was good. He was good.
Oh, they go over. Look at this.
What?
Oh. Ladies go over. Hey, they're having a good
Drunk
time
ladies.
out in the
Drunk ladies.
Having a good time out in the bleachers.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that.
What? Good time out in the bleachers?
No. The 900 people who showed up at the Sox game.
Well, that was because it was snowy.
I don't care why it was. It's still 900 people.
And most of them were Cubs fans because the game got snowed out that day. There was a lot of Cubs fans.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't a lot of Cubs. There was only 900 people there, though, Jim.
No.
So there wasn't a lot of people there. There wasn't a lot of Cub fans because there wasn't a lot of people there. So it can't be a lot. There might be the majority of the people that were there might have been Cub fans, but just think about that. If the Cub fans didn't go to, there'd be nobody there. It's kind of scary. But anyway, let's do this. Oh, let me pull up my script though, because it's just a crutch.
What are we talking about this week, Attorney Stephen Leahy?
I told you we were going to talk about what they call a CDP hearing.
Which is?
It's a collection due process hearing. And I had a guy came to hire me, and we'll talk about it, though, in that show. I thought it was interesting. Because so many people...
Are we going to talk about what Rich was talking about, the tax deductions?
Yeah, but where are we going to talk about that?
Let's do it in the first segment. Or the last, or the last one. Which one?
No, probably it's more first.
You guys are getting behind the scenes footage of what's going on.
Probably the first segment because
we'll talk about it in the first because that's big news.
So let me look up the story. Again, it's still not official what's going on yet, but I think that's as close to an official.
How should I say it? Real estate deductions in Illinois.
Property tax deductions on your.
Also, property tax deductions in. Keep talking. Nothing worse than dead air.
Oh yeah, that's what Rush Limbaugh always says.
That's right.
Sometimes, I was listening to him the other day. He was humming.
It's true.
I got to hum
because keep it going. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Remember, every Sunday at 5 on AM 560, The Answer. That is going to be the IRS Radio Hour. If you have any questions, please ask here. This is the avenue. Ask, and you shall receive. You're going to receive answers. We might not answer it this show, but call Attorney Stephen Leahy, 312-664-6649 with OPM tax resolutions. Go to ChicagoTaxTeam.com because it is going to be your hub to fight the IRS. Continue to watch us on YouTube and enjoy what we have to say.
So everybody's saying it's official. I don't know if it's official or no, but I guess you can't get much more official than Roscom saying that it's going to be deductible. So we'll talk about it. There's all these other stories all across the nation that it's not that it has been decided. But again, everybody's different as to how your county assesses the tax against you. That's how they've determined it. I went back and forth on this. I think that if it was the old Democratic way, they would find a way that it's not deductible because they want our money. But we have more of a populist government now who seems to care more about what people are paying and try to limit that. So let's do the show. I'm ready.
Pursuant to Internal Revenue Service guidance, be advised that any federal tax advice contained in this program is not intended to be used, and it cannot be used by any person or entity for the purpose of avoiding any tax penalties that may be imposed by the Internal Revenue Service or any other U.S. federal taxing authority or agency, or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any transaction or matter addressed in this show. The opinions expressed by the host and the guests are their own and may not be used as authoritative advice. Any use of this material without the written consent of the host is strictly prohibited.
You're listening to the IRS Radio Hour with your host, Attorney Stephen Leahy, on AM 560, The Answer. Tune in every week at 5 for an informative discussion about IRS obligations, credit card debt, mortgage default, collection activity, and how to resolve these legal issues using tax resolution, debt settlement, mortgage loan modification, foreclosure defense, and bankruptcy. Your host is Stephen Leahy, and the principal at Open Tax Resolutions and the law office of Stephen Leahy, PC. Stephen is the author of Deal with Your IRS Problems Today. IRS and debt issues are serious, but there is help. There are resolutions. So get ready and take notes during the IRS Radio Hour. And now, here's your host, Attorney Stephen Leahy.
Hello, Chicago taxpayers. We are coming to you from Studio C
at AM
560, The Answer. Welcome to the IRS Radio Hour.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
This show is sponsored by the law office of Stephen A. Leahy, PC, and Opum Tax Resolutions.
God bless you, Opum Tax Resolution.
Now, what happens is Opum helps people solve IRS problems with audits and levies, liens and garnishments, collections, unfiled tax returns, and payroll tax issues. They also help people with mortgage foreclosures, loan modifications, bankruptcy, and other debt-related issues. So if you have any of these problems, or if you know someone who does, and we all do, you should have them call me at 312-664-6649. Again, that number is 312-664-6649, or visit us on the web at chicagotaxteam.com. I am your host, Attorney Stephen Leahy. Now, before I get into that, I'm going to tell you that I got a call this week from someone that had some tax issues about Illinois state tax issues after bankruptcy. And he listens to the show. He said, yeah, I listen to your show all the time. He said, he had this tax question. He calls me. And he said, yeah, well, I just filed bankruptcy, and I had this. And I knew his bankruptcy lawyer. I know his lawyer fairly well. But I had to say, if you listen to my show, why didn't you call me to do your bankruptcy? Why would you call this guy? Well, he didn't put it together. Well, you're the tax guy. Yeah, but I talk about bankruptcies a lot. Yeah. And I help people with bankruptcy because bankruptcy is one of the ways that you can fix IRS problems. So most of the bankruptcies I do are fairly complicated. And if you would have hired me to do this, I would have already been in front of this Illinois state tax stuff. You wouldn't have had to wait and had questions about it because I would have told you about it beforehand because that's what we do. So again, don't forget that there's nothing worse than when you say, oh, I listen to your show, love your show, trust you, want you to help me. But then you hire somebody else. Don't do that. Hire me, 312-664-6649. I want to introduce our technical producer, Deborah Schreiner.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Debbie.
Hello, Deborah. How are you?
Happy birthday to your wife,
yes.
Stephen.
Oh,
happy birthday, Teresa. It it's
Say
a very
it
special.
ain't
Now,
so. The big 5-0.
Yeah, my wife loves her birthday. Always did. I know today I kind of saw a look in her eye. Maybe she didn't love it as much as she used to, but it's always a birthday week or a birthday month. So we're gonna carry that over into Mexico when we go to Mexico with Dan and Amy next week on Saturday. So there it is.
Oh,
this is our song. Love that woman, and it's gonna make me cry.
you're a sissy.
Yeah, I know I am. I'm very sentimental. My wife, not so much. She's not. She won't cry for it. I'll cry if she wants.
Let's continue with the introduction.
Oh, you're just afraid because I didn't introduce you, who is my nephew, my good friend, and my realtor, and my co-host, Jim Leahy.
Who's in the house?
My very good friend, Jim Leahy.
That's who's in the house.
Now,
Deborah Schreiner, best in the business, ladies and gentlemen.
That's your guy that you met,
That's
right?
my guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the nicest people I've ever met, hands down. He also does the voice of Captain Keyes from Halo. It was a video game I played, so I was like, say it. I was waiting. Tay was like, oh my God, be Captain Keyes. He did it. I was like, oh!
That's good.
Oh, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into the IRS Radio Hour. We're running low on time. We got a lot to talk about, so we're just going to jump right into it. The news roundup.
Review and comment on the news.
All right, let's talk about.
Did you want to do the tax stuff first?
Yes, let's do the tax stuff first.
So I have a friend. His name is Rich, and he watches the show and listens to the show. Actually, he was kind enough to call when I was on another show, one of the call-in shows, and he called with this question about the property taxes in Illinois and the new tax law, because the new tax law is going to limit how much you can deduct from what they call SALT, the state and local taxes. So property taxes is a big component of that. And so here in Illinois, we have a lot of people who pay over $10,000, way over $10,000 in property taxes. And that's always been an unlimited deduction. And now they're going to, next year, not this 2017 tax year, but 2018 tax year, it's going to be limited to $10,000. So everybody was encouraged, all these municipalities around here were encouraging people, come and prepay it, come and prepay it, come and prepay it. We not knowing whether for sure they were going to be deductible or not. In most of the country, I'd say it's still up in the air whether it's going to be deductible. Peter Roscom, who's a congressman here, he's on the House Ways and Means Committee, who oversees the Treasury Department and oversees the IRS, has come out and said that he thinks. He doesn't say he thinks. He said he knew that here in Illinois, we're going to be able to make those deductions, to take those deductions. So I hope that's true. And Rich and I now I got to buy Rich a drink a beer up in the club, because I was pretty sure that there wasn't going to be the way I read the law. There was an advisory. The IRS came out with an advisory in December. The way I read it is you weren't going to be able to take it, but I can understand why it was a gray area, and that's why we had disagreements. I hope you're right. I hope you get to take the deduction. So, because if you don't get to take the deduction, what's going to happen is they're going to go back and they're going to audit your tax return, and that's never fun. But if they audit your tax return, you can call me. I help people with audits.
That's right. That's what's great about having open tax resolution on your side.
That's right. I agree with that. So
trust me, I know, especially with the property taxes being so high.
Huge issue.
I see it a lot, especially where
as
I
a realtor.
work. As a realtor, I see it a lot where I work.
It drives.
Remember Jim Leahy with that properties 847.
It's wrong. It's wrong, but property
271-3695.
I'm sorry. It's wrong, but property taxes have become a big driver of where people live.
Yes.
Okay. So you look at so you don't only look at the house and what it costs and the school districts, and you say, what's the tax rate? And because a lot of these neighborhoods now, the taxes I can afford the house, I just can't afford the taxes. It's, I don't know if you've seen this down in the south suburbs, but a lot of these homes are only worth like $30,000 or $45,000, and they're paying $4,000 a year in taxes.
Yes.
So 10% or more of your home value is going to taxes. That's just ridiculous.
That's nonsense.
I always say we don't own our own land here in Illinois. We just rent it from the politicians, and if you don't pay it, they will take it away from you and give it to their friends, and that's the way it works. Sorry,
that's
just the way it works. And so many people around this nation, when you tell them what we pay in taxes and property taxes, they're stunned. I talked to somebody in Indiana. They were telling me what their tax rate is. it's like, really? That's all you're paying? Someone in Arizona, their taxes were like $600 a year. $600 a year.
I have a listener that I met in Michigan last year that listens to our show. That they have this, they love Chicago, but they had to move.
Yep,
they had to move from Illinois, and they pay.
And Michigan's no small low property state, property tax state either.
But they were from
compared
Indiana,
compared to Illinois.
Oh yeah. But the thing with Wisconsin is they pay such a high price in electricity. Not a lot of people know that they have some of the highest energy bills in the nation.
Well, because they.
I'm not really sure why they do that.
They probably don't. They won't let them. They wouldn't let them put any plants up, right? So
I'm not sure.
Well, it's supply and demand. If I don't have a lot of factories that are going to produce, I'm just telling you.
I understand. I understand. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a great show lined up for you today. Again, we really want to. We're going to talk
Wisconsin's
more about.
a very progressive state.
We're going to talk more about the Illinois tax deductions in the future. Because it's going to be an ongoing issue.
Yes.
But ladies and gentlemen, we got a great show lined up for you today. Remember, if we don't answer your questions on this show, you can always call Open Tax Resolution. I'll give you that number in a second. How is our show lined up today? What are we doing on the blog segment?
On the blog segment, it says CDP hearing. What the heck is that?
That's right. And then we're going to be doing the Trump segment because that's going to be a big issue. But that's also going to be a text. Or should we do a text segment because of the Facebook hearing?
We could do a text segment.
We might do a text segment.
Do we have a text segment?
We're also going to do Mr. Know-It-All, so questions will be answered. And we're also going to wrap the show up IRS Radio Hour style. What's going on with the Chicago Cubs?
What is going on with the Chicago Cubs?
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
like kissing your sister.
We have a great show lined up for you today. Remember, Open Tax Resolution is here for you. 312-664-6649 or visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. It's going to be your hub to fight the IRS. Now, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Listen to our sponsors, because without them, we don't have the station, we don't have the show. And you're going to come right back, okay, with a pencil and a piece of paper so you can write down all this great information, because the blog report's coming up next here on AM 560, The Answer.
Very good, Jim.
Ladies and gentlemen, remember, thank you so much for tuning in. We do this every Friday. We do the live broadcast. Every Sunday at 5, our show airs. So if you have any questions, this is the avenue to do it. So we can answer them. We'll toss out the text segment and make sure that we answer your questions, because it's important to us that you understand that there are ways to fight your problem. Don't dig your head in the sand. Did you look at the Cubs score?
No, what is it? Are they losing again? Who are we playing? Atlanta. Are we playing Atlanta? We're losing to Atlanta?
4-0.
Uh-oh. Home run? Dinger?
Just keeps going around the bases.
Oh, my. Who's pitching?
Darvish.
Oh, gosh. What happened?
Whatever.
What happened?
I told you, I think the Florida Marlins had the right idea. I think they have the right idea.
I know, but that won't work for the Cubs. That won't work.
Then you ain't. Well, get used to it. I mean, am I saying it's done? No, it's early in the season. They could easily turn it on, and then next thing you know, they're one of the best teams in baseball. But
well, I didn't say it's easy, but they can do it. I agree with that.
Blog segment?
Blag.
Welcome back to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy. Stephen has helped hundreds of Chicagoans recover from financial disaster, and he wants to help you and your family. There are resolutions, and you will hear about all those resolutions during today's informative discussion on the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560 The Answer. Now, here's your host, attorney Stephen Leahy.
Welcome back. I'm your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy on my wife's birthday. Happy birthday, Teresa.
Well, her birthday was Friday.
Well, that's
Show
Friday.
her
That's right.
Sundays.
So I want to. This is the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560.
The Answer.
We're here with Deborah Schreiner and Jim Leahy, and we're going to talk about the blog segment.
It's the blog segment. The blog. The blog.
Do you remember the name, Jim? Park Avenue.
Park Avenue West.
No, Park Avenue Beat.
Beat. Yes.
I'll put it all on Park Avenue.
Okay. But I'm.
Buy Park Avenue from you.
Okay. So today, we talked about what happened in my office this last weekend and what kind of issues. There was some really good issues this past week, and
You had a lot of issues this week. I know you went into it, but how many from you? I know that YouTube has been taken off because we do a YouTube.
Yes,
feed.
You know what? Because of the YouTube and everything, I get a lot. I get a lot of people who Google me and find me. Okay, from around the country, and so I get a lot of calls recently. I've been getting a lot of calls. Again, a lot of people they're looking for free advice, and so I had a guy call me yesterday. He said, I talked to my CPA, and he told me that I can't deduct this or that. I'm trying to remember what it was. And I said, "Is that what you did you pay your CPA to tell you this?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "And now you're calling me because you want free advice. You paid him, and now you want to ask me." And I did tell him. I said, "He's right. Okay, you got to." That's the way it is. I forget what the deduction was, but it's, so he's just calling to check with me because he didn't like the answer. So sometimes you don't like the answer doesn't mean that just because you call a lawyer, you're going to get the right answer. Oh, I know that. You know what it had to do with, Jim? Surrogates. He and his wife had hired a surrogate to have a child for him.
Okay.
And he was wondering whether the medical expenses for the woman would be a deduction for him.
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, the answer is no, it's not deductible because she's not related to you. Now, there's different ways. He said, I talked to a lawyer. They told me the agency said I should talk to a lawyer before we did this so we could set it up. And so there's a way to deduct it. I said, but here's the thing, sir. You didn't set it up before. Now, she's already pregnant and and you didn't set it up the way you could have if there was a way. And so now it's not tax deductible. It's not. Now, if you're doing it, you and your wife are doing it, then it would be tax deductible. If you're like in vitro stuff like that, that's all tax deductible because you're helping.
That's great information because how many people really know that?
Well, again, this guy didn't like the answer they got from a CPA, and he paid that guy. He didn't pay me. But anyway, I was going to talk about CDP hearings. CDP because it's another guy. I had another. He's fighting with the IRS. He thinks the IRS is out to get him. A lot of people believe this, and he didn't like the answer he got. When the IRS puts a lien against you, or they put or they're going to start levying you, they send you these notices of levy. Okay, and there's a bunch of different ones that we talk about it on this show. There's numbers on the top right hand side that tell you exactly what kind of a notice it is, right? Because the IRS has a system. They follow this system. They're going to send this letter, and then they're going to send this next letter, and then they have a series of letters that they're going to send you. And when you get to the end of that series, the letter is called a notice of intent to levy, and it alerts you of your appeals rights. Well, that's what this CDP hearing is. It's a collection due process hearing, and this is what an appeal is. So you have, when they send you that notice of intent to levy, you have 30 days. You can ask for a CDP hearing. And if you ask for that within that timely frame, they will stop collection efforts against you. So that means they won't levy you, and they'll put you into an appeal process. But what people don't understand is the appeal isn't, you know what, they're wrong. I don't owe that money. That's already been decided. They've already decided you owed the money. You're in collections. That's not the time to argue about whether you really owe the money or not. Okay? There's other ways around that to try to fight that. If you think you don't owe the money, there's other ways around that. A lot of that would be like when you get a notice of deficiency, and then you get this notice of deficiency and say, if you don't agree, then you should contact us and let us know, and you can appeal our audit. And so you could appeal the audit, and then if you appeal the audit and you don't like that answer, you could take them to tax court. You'll have 90 days to take them to tax court. They call this a 90-day letter. So they send you they say you owe more money. If you have 90 days to go to tax court and argue about it in tax court. But if you're in collections and they're trying to levy you, you can't just say, well, the IRS is wrong. I don't owe that money. Too late to argue that. Okay, this is not the place to argue.
Yeah, they already
that.
brought you in.
This is really about how are they going to collect it from you. So they're saying, hey, you haven't paid us. We're going to start taking things away from you, and you've got to this is CDP is collection due process hearing again says. No, don't levy me. There's better ways to pay for me to. There's better ways for you to get paid rather than take things away from me. And so, but sometimes this is good because you instead of having a local. You can do this locally too, or sometimes it's across the nation. They'll set it out across the nation. But your revenue officer is in charge of collecting money, and they get compensated based on the number of how much money they collect. A revenue CDP appeals officer, they get compensated based on how many cases they close. You see the difference?
Whoa.
So now they can close it and not get any money, but they get credit for it. If a revenue officer closes it and doesn't get any money, he's not getting a lot of credit for that because he's not collecting the money. So there's different, and the appeals officers generally to be higher up on the food chain. So and they're not as individually involved in the case, so they don't know the person. So sometimes the revenue officers can grow to not like the person that they're trying to collect from.
That's why it's important to have
exactly true.
representation.
Because maybe they've tried to collect. So I've had people say, I never even met the guy. Why he's got this? Well, why has he got this animus against me? He's coming after me like he hates my guts. I never met the guy, but he sent you net letters. He's gone to here. He's done this. He's been chasing you, and you haven't been responding. And so he gets this idea in his hand that you're trying to steal from the government, and it's his job to stop it. And so he gets this. He gets this in his head that he's against you, and he's going to let you have it. And that's when sometimes it's good. Then you can do this appeal and get it out of his hands, put it into somebody else's hands that know nothing about you, that doesn't have this animus against you, that's going to work on what the law says, and you can argue it that way. So sometimes this is the greatest thing to do. Now, one of the bad things that happen, and this is what the CDP hearing is. Now, the CDP hearing is really has the IRS followed the procedures they're supposed to follow? Did they send a notice the way they're supposed to? Did they offer me a remedy that they're supposed to offer me? Were they reasonable in assessing the 433 form? And that's with the financial forms and stuff. Were they reasonable? And that's what the appeals officer is gonna decide. Again, they're not going to decide whether you owe the money or not. That's already been decided. And again, there's other ways to fight that if you think you don't owe it. But okay, so another good thing about a CDP hearing, collection due process, if you don't like the answer that you get at that CDP hearing, you can go to court. You can go to tax court, and I can file something in tax court. And while I file something in tax court, they still can't come after me. So I'm still protected. And so sometimes that's a big thing for people, just to get protected. And that's what we want to do. We want to protect you. Now, one of the bad things about a CDP hearing is it stops that statute of limitations that we talk about a lot on this show. It's called the CSED date, collection statute expiration date. It adds time to that collection statute expiration date because they can't collect from you. Then they add time to the time that they can collect from you. And so if I'm coming to the end of a date, maybe I don't want to do a CDP hearing. Well, then you're afraid, but then they're going to levy me. But they have something else, and it's called an equivalency hearing. And an equivalency hearing is the same as a CDP hearing, but you just don't do it within that 30 days. You have 1 year to file for that. They still stop collection. That's good. But it doesn't stop the
you know what? This is why I told people to pull out the pen and piece of paper, because there's a lot.
I know.
But while you still have the pen and piece of paper out, jot this down, ladies and gentlemen. OPM tax resolution, 312-664-6649.
Nice
Visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. It's going to be your hub to fight the IRS. Write that down, too. Ladies and gentlemen.
Solve my IRS problem. Write that down.
Address the problem now, because if you do not, it could become a cascading tax issue, which is what we talk about.
Catastrophic.
You could go on ChicagoTaxTeam.com and watch old videos. prior videos talking about this. Go on YouTube where we do a live video feed on Fridays. Great tool to get back on track for financial success. Stay tuned because more IRS Radio Hours coming your way. I'm going to let Perry Mason take this away. And we're going to come right back here on AM 560.
The answer. Love, love, love that. Okay, now, I didn't talk about anything I wanted to talk about. I talked about CDP, but I didn't mention anything. I guess people can live without knowing what form to use. So,
well, why don't you tell the people now?
Well, again, it's because it's form 12153. Everybody knows that the 12153 form. Everybody knows that. But anyway, there's lots of other stuff I meant to talk about, but you're running out of time. It gets so. Again, this guy filed he didn't like the CDP hearing. Oh, see, I didn't get into that, and I wanted to. He didn't like the answer to the CDP hearing, so he appealed and he went to court. What he doesn't understand is that he's only appealing for 1 year, which was 2009. And he only owed $200 that year. It cost him more to file the motion. He could have just paid that year off. He would have been done. It would have been solved. But people don't understand that that it's very limited what the appeal is. So anyway, that's what I wanted to mention, and I didn't. Should I put that in the next segment, Jim?
How about a text segment? Because, Ted Cruz had that good exchange
with Zuckerberg. I thought he did too.
I have a clip of that if you'd like it.
Well, yeah, I like it.
Well, let's figure out what you want to use.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, we'll talk about Facebook.
Well, we're going back to the same theme here. It's the same stuff, and I agree because it's so important.
It is.
What's going on with the Cubs? And then it's 4-0. They're not even scoring any runs.
They can't get a hit.
Are they being on hit?
No, they have 2 hits in the whole game. It's the Atlanta Braves.
I know.
Joe, do I got to bring in a magician or something? Can we do something here?
Do something.
You're 6-6. We played 12 games. Let's win a series.
I know.
You should have beat the Marlins. Should have beat the Brewers. 4-0. 2 hits. They have 9 hits. It could be the weather.
Atlanta has the same weather we have.
Well, no.
They're playing in the same place we are.
Yeah.
They're battling the same weather.
So as CEO, have you ever made hiring or firing decisions based on political positions or what candidates they supported?
No.
Why was Palmer Luckey fired?
That is a specific personnel matter that seems like it would be inappropriate to
speak to. You just made a specific representation that you didn't make decisions based on political views.
Well,
is that accurate?
I can commit that it was not because of a political view.
Do you know of those 15 to 20,000 people engaged in content review, how many, if any, have ever supported financially a Republican candidate for office?
Senator, I do not know that.
Your testimony says it is not enough that we just connect people. We have to make sure those connections are positive. It says we have to make sure people aren't using their voice to hurt people or spread misinformation. We have a responsibility not just to build tools, to make sure those tools are used for good. Mr. Zuckerberg, do you feel it's your responsibility to assess users, whether they are good and positive connections or ones that those 15 to 20,000 people deem unacceptable or deplorable?
Senator, you're asking about me personally?
Facebook.
Senator, I think that there are a number of things that we would all agree are clearly bad. Foreign interference in our elections, terrorism.
No, why would he say that?
Self-harm.
I'm talking about censorship.
Well, I think that you would probably agree that we should remove terrorist propaganda from the service. So that, I agree, I think is clearly bad activity that we want to get down, and we're generally proud of how well we do at that. Now, what I can say, and I do want to get this in before the end here, is that I am very committed to making sure that Facebook is a platform for all ideas. That is a very important founding principle of what we do. We're proud of the discourse and the different ideas that people can share on the service. And that is something that, as long as I'm running the company, I'm going to be committed to making sure is the case.
I don't know, that's a little long, but how long is that? That's a little long.
I mean, what I just played it for you. Was there any of that you want to use, or not really?
I didn't.
You just want to talk about it.
I think we're just because I didn't. Nothing really stepped out at me because he didn't. I saw this one exchange that I did when he was asking about. I don't know.
You guys can just comment on it.
We'll do that.
Des Bryant.
But we're gonna.
Des Bryant was released from the Dallas Cowboys.
Is that?
Oh.
Oh.
There is an intro for the tech segment.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
You're listening to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy on AM 560, The Answer. Attorney Stephen Leahy brings his passion and expertise to your radio each and every week during the IRS Radio Hour. Tune in, take notes, and be educated. Learn your options resolving financial obstacles that face so many. And now, back to the IRS Radio Hour with your host, attorney Stephen Leahy.
Welcome back. This is the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560, The Answer. I'm your host, Stephen Leahy. Like the guy just said, I'm the attorney, Stephen Leahy.
No,
we're here with Deborah Schreiner and Jim Leahy, and we're going to do one of our favorite segments.
I think it's time we look into the future.
It is the distant future. There is only one kind of dance, the robots.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Domo. Domo.
Science.
It's time to boldly go where technology is going. Tech, knowledge, universe.
I haven't heard that for a little while. I forgot how much I like it.
I love it.
I do too. Okay, so we were going to talk about.
Why are we doing the technology segment?
Well, first off, I think we keep bringing this same subject up about information, right? And about
here's what everybody's been trying to tell you today, and I say this gently. Your user agreement sucks.
I didn't hear that. That's very good, and he's right. Who reads It's like anything you buy is like
Did you ever see that South Park episode?
Well, no, I did not.
When Apple puts out a new product and he agrees to all right, whatever, it's iTunes. Yeah, I accept it. All of a sudden they take him for a science part. She's like, what? He goes, didn't you read that?
You agreed.
No, I didn't read anything.
You agreed. Sometimes it makes sense not to read that stuff because then it's a contract of adhesion. But I don't want to go. I don't want. That's law school stuff. But I wanted to talk about the technology because it's Zuckerberg and Google, and we've been talking a lot about this recently, and now it's about Trump, right? What's right? what information comes out about Trump, what could be relied upon. And, this is really getting me because now there's, Fox News is all false. It's all false news. It's all lies. We gotta stop that. We can't have that. So what, they're going to shut down the network? If you look.
What gets me is the fact that when they say it's like Fox News is that, I don't watch any of them, mind you. I don't watch Fox. I don't watch MSNBC or
Sometimes
CNN.
I'll watch Fox.
I don't watch those. So the fact that they just single that out, it's like, come on.
I know.
You can see CNN is pretty
it's
ridiculous.
The same. I agree with that too.
The stuff that they're doing is ridiculous.
But they agree with them. They being the media, and so then they don't come down on them. Zuckerberg agrees with them, so he's not going to come down on them. He does. He looks at hate speech you don't agree with. It's like
we talked about it on our podcast.
It's like gay rights. Okay, you could just say if you're against gay marriage, doesn't mean you're against gay rights. We're all for gay rights. We all think everybody should be treated the same. Okay, we all think that. And but should there be gay marriage? That's a different question. And we always told you that I think that it shouldn't be up to the government one way or another. But if they're going to make, I understand why someone might have this opinion.
Yes,
and it's a lot.
I understand.
It's been the same way for 2,000 years of mankind. Even Obama felt that way. Hillary said she was against.
I mean, there are videos of even saying
all of them were against. So
that.
Now, if you say just what he said 2 years ago, now you're evil and should never be.
I know,
you can't even be heard
you know
from.
what? They'll pull up videos from whoever it is that they don't agree with. They'll pull up videos from 20 years ago. But then you look and you see Hillary Clinton said the same thing
exactly.
in the early 2000s. I don't agree with gay marriage and this and that.
Exactly.
And
so
then all of a sudden she flips.
But that's what I said. That's evil. Now you're an evil person. 2 years ago, everybody.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden I'm evil if I believe that. Or the schools the unisex bathrooms. Same thing there. If you have a different opinion of this,
let's rein back in here. Okay. The big issue here is the fact that you're focusing on one group of people, but you're not focusing on the other. That's the whole point of this. That's why he's having that hearing. And you know what's really terrible is that Facebook, the Mark Zuckerberg goes up there. All those guys have stock in Facebook, so it's like
and they're like protecting it.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
What would you do?
Let
me.
Well, we talked about that.
I have
we had the pre-show. I talked about Microsoft and what they did. Right, they just start giving money away, and that's what he's doing.
I have 10,000
just start giving money
shares
away.
of Facebook. Yeah,
maybe you shouldn't be the one that's asking them the questions about it. And might have
Agreed.
Because maybe if we find out what's really going on, it affects how much money they make, and that affects how much money you make.
And then the big question is too: how many of these guys have done that previously? Who's looked into that before?
What do you mean?
Well, how many of these guys that have gone and had congressional hearings about these big companies? How many of these guys?
They're all connected. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
That's why they're there.
I think these congressional hearings are a waste, personally.
I do too.
It's like baseball. Why are you doing?
If you come up with rules about
it's like when baseball came up and they were talking about steroids. Get out of here.
That does it. I agree with that.
It's ridiculous.
I agree with that.
It does nothing.
Anyway, this is the tech, and I didn't even get it. We didn't even touch what I really wanted to touch about, but it is.
No, this is an ongoing. This
is an ongoing theme here on this show about information and privacy. I have a master's degree in information technology, and that's really what it's about: is privacy and your own information and what your rights are vis-a-vis your information.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. If you want more information. Call Open Tax Resolution 312-664-6649 or visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. It's going to be your hub to fight the IRS. Now, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned because we got Mr. Know-It-All coming up. Keep those pens and paper out and write down some notes. When we come back here on AM 560,
The Answer. Very good, Jim.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Open Tax Resolution is there for you. 312-664-6649 to visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. Again, it's going to be your hub to fight the IRS. Or if you're looking to buy or sell real estate in northeastern Illinois, give me a call. Jim Leahy with at Properties, 847-271-3695. Again, that's Jim Leahy with at Properties, 847-271-3695.
Did you hear about, I was listening to the Larry Elder show last night.
Yes.
I was listening to the Larry Elder show last night. And he talked to Diamond and Silk. Do you know them?
Sure, I was just talking about it. We were just talking about that.
Yeah. So that was really interesting.
Of course, now I was just reading a story about that, and that's all false. That's all a false story. They weren't targeted or anything like that. That's all made up, and Fox is helping that, and that's all fake news. We disagree with it. Again, this is what they just call it false. They just call it fake news, and that's it. That's over. Take it off.
See ya. Don't matter. That's the problem. Just if you're going to go after somebody, go after all sides of the aisle. Don't just pick and choose who you're going to go after. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are going to be in the Deerfield area on Sunday from 1 to 3, come to 1345 East Canton. Deerfield got a beautiful property over there. Open house. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, another open house. More information will be available on my Facebook page. Just look up Jim Leahy, real estate agent. Again, that's JIMLEAHY, real estate agent on Facebook, and you'll get more information. Also, virtual tours of the property as well. It's a great little tool to help you get an idea of what's in the area instead of leaving the comforts of your own home. That's what App Properties does for you, too. We sit down and we have a concrete way of attacking the marketing of your home. Make sure that it's exposed. And if you're interested in what I'm saying or interested in getting any more information, give me a call, 847-271-3695.
Mr. Know-It-All?
Yes.
Welcome back to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy. Stephen has helped hundreds of Chicagoans recover from financial disaster, and he wants to help you and your family. There are resolutions, and you will hear about all those resolutions during today's informative discussion on the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560 The Answer. Now, here's your host, attorney Stephen Leahy.
You're not only the tax man, you're the bankruptcy man, too.
I am. Remember, people, listeners, if you're having these problems and you know someone that's going to file bankruptcy, call me first. Especially if you have tax problems, you should call me first. But this is our favorite segment.
And now, here's that man with a head just crammed full of knowledge, Mr. Know-It-All.
That's correct, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Know-It-All, the segment where attorney Stephen Leahy gives us his infinite wisdom on all things taxes.
It's kind of like segments are kind of like children in that they're all my favorite. Okay, because I keep saying that. That's my favorite segment.
Stop it. You have favorites.
I don't have any favorite children. Don't tell the others.
No, yeah, don't tell the other ones. From the other
Addison. Addison.
No, that's my
Addison.
wife's favorite, I think. Although I told you that she's the only one happy when I get home at night. She's crazy. She just goes crazy.
My aunt?
No, Addison.
Because it was her birthday.
It was
Not Addison.
Not Addison. No, your auntie. Okay, I'm from Chicago. We call aunt. That's my aunt. Anyway,
Auntie T.
I've heard it both ways.
Sure you have. So the question I get
You can't handle the truth.
So the question I get is, I got a call from a guy from Washington State.
Really?
Yes, and he said,
did he say anything about me?
Yeah, he asked, well, how's that Jim kid? How's he doing?
Well, did he ask about real estate?
He didn't.
Oh,
if
that's
he
all right.
did, I would have told him. The show's realtor is Jim Leahy. And I forget his number, but he'll tell us.
847-271-3695 with App Properties.
I knew that was going to happen. Anyway, he had the question was, hey, I'm from Washington State. I work for a company remotely, and it's in Illinois. And for the last 5 years, my employer had been deducting like I live in Illinois.
Yeah.
So why do I have to pay taxes in Illinois?
Didn't we have this conversation before?
No, we had it in the last.
You know what it was?
What?
The jock tax. Remember, it's
this
the
is very
same
similar
issue.
to this. Yes, this is very similar to this. A lot of states have a special rule just for athletes because they're making more money in a week than many of their.
Can't let that go to waste.
No, we're going to get that money. And what I learned is that every state is different. So, for instance, New York, if they have a lot of people working remotely from Connecticut or New Jersey, and New York says if the company you work for is in New York, guess what? You're paying New York taxes. That's just the way it is, and it's not like that in every state. In Illinois, if there's a connection to Illinois, so I searched for this answer because I didn't have it at outside the jock rule, which is if you're working if they play a game in Illinois and they collect a paycheck while they're playing that game, then they have to pay taxes on that money they earned in Illinois. That's clear. One of the things is. Now, we have some states in Illinois we have reciprocal agreements with, the surrounding states, Wisconsin, Iowa,
same thing with real estate,
Indiana. So we have reciprocal agreements with them, which means if you live there and you work here, you still pay your taxes there, and Illinois won't double tax you. But if it's not a reciprocal state, we don't have that agreement, then they will tax you. So in this case, what I came up with this, and I'm not finished with my. I haven't read any Illinois law about it, any case law about it, so that's what I'm trying to follow up still. But what I learned was that this gentleman has to come into the state a couple of times a year. So that connects you, just that little bit probably connects you and makes you an Illinois employee and makes you have to pay Illinois taxes. Now, if I'm in Washington, I never come to Illinois. I have really no connection. Then I probably don't have to pay taxes in Illinois. And he might be able to go back and get that refund for those years that he paid. And he was paying Illinois about $5,000 a year. So I think as I told him, it's not a settled matter. I think it's kind of gray there, and it's evolving because more and more people are working remotely, and these states, especially a state like Illinois, they don't want to give up the money. They want the employee. They want the tax base, and too many people are leaving Illinois. So maybe I'm working in a place in Chicago, and I'm just going to go move to Indiana. And I'll work remotely from home from Indiana.
Exactly.
And I won't pay the tax there. And so, but again, if you have to come into the office occasionally, now you're still an Illinois employee, even though you're working remotely most of the time. So anyway,
When was your last time in Chicago?
It gets complicated, and again, there's no real clear law. And I'm still researching that because it's a difficult matter to just find a yes or no question. No, for most law questions, the answer is never a yes or no. It's maybe. Almost all of them. It's going to be a maybe.
That's why we hire you guys, right? Lawyers.
Well, and then you have to.
So you can.
That reminds me of another thing that I could have done with Mr. Know-It-All today, and that's exemptions in Illinois for bankruptcy. Maybe we'll talk about that next week because that's another thing. And the law seems clear, but it's not always clear.
Well, we're going to have to talk about that next week.
The answer is maybe. Maybe it is. And that's why you need a good lawyer to fight it. Anyway, I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we do a live YouTube broadcast on Fridays. We have Facebook. We have ChicagoTaxTeam.com. There are ways to get answers out there. Okay? So call Open Tax Resolution if you have a question. 312-664-6649. Or visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. It's going to be your hub to fight the IRS. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, fight the IRS today. Don't sit back and let them take advantage.
That's right.
Address
you got a problem?
the problem.
Address it.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap the show up here after the commercial break the only way we know how to. Here on AM 560,
The Answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for paying attention and watching and tuning in and writing notes and being a part of our show. Because without you guys, we're not here.
I have an idea.
What's that?
You know how Steven is like, all of the segments are his favorites?
Yes.
Maybe you could have the listeners say what segment they really enjoy. leave a comment.
That's very good. Yes, do that, people, when you watch.
The Trump segment, the technology segment, Mr. Know-It-All.
I will let you know. That
the news roundup.
Yes.
You know what my favorite segment is?
What's your favorite?
This one coming up because I get to talk.
You always get to talk.
I know. I'm joking, but I introduce it.
I know.
You're listening to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy on AM 560, The Answer. Attorney Stephen Leahy brings his passion and expertise to your radio each and every week during the IRS Radio Hour. Tune in, take notes, and be educated. Learn your options resolving financial obstacles that face so many. And now, back to the IRS Radio Hour with your host, attorney Stephen Leahy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am not your host, attorney Stephen Leahy, but I'm your co-host, Jim Leahy. And this is the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560, The Answer. We are coming to you with great information on AM 560,
The Answer.
That's what I was looking for.
Thank you.
We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Remember, every week we do this to make sure that you guys, the Chicago taxpayers, but not only the Chicago taxpayers, the American taxpayers.
Right. This little radio show we do.
We want to make sure that everybody is out there being represented and protected. You have the knowledge. Because if you don't have the knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to just, it could be a big problem.
Yes.
We talked about it earlier.
Yes, we did.
Representation is key.
And again, if you listen to the show and you're having an issue, call me. Don't call another lawyer before you call me. Now, you could call me if you still want to call somebody else. You should call somebody else too.
No problem.
But you should call me just to get me, because
I said, no problem.
That's right.
I said that at the Cubs game. I went to the Cubs game the other night.
I was there.
Yeah, you were. I didn't
Not
see
with you, though.
Yeah, I didn't see you. I was sitting down in section 200 somewhere right along the back.
Is that where you
Some
were?
guy hits the seats and he goes, one of the ushers like, hey guys, these seats are taken, they're up. I was like, oh yeah, no problem. The guy goes, yeah, no problem. There's seats. It's their seats. I was like, okay, I'll move. And I got up and walked over. He goes, hey pal, let me see your ticket. And I was like, okay. Show him the ticket. He goes, you're up top. Why are you sitting here? I was like, well, sir, that's a stupid question. You know the answer to that one. And he goes, well, then why are you arguing with me, buddy? And I was like, hold on. I wasn't arguing whatsoever.
I'm not saying that Jim can't be argumentative.
Me? Argumentative?
How dare you say such a thing? You want to argue about it?
Utter such vile canard.
Canard, I agree. But we have one more episode before I go to no, we're not going to Cancun. I forget where
You're going to
somewhere in Mexico.
Somewhere in Mexico.
With Dan and Amy, the morning answer crew.
I can't wait to go with you. We're going to suck up the sun.
Yeah, because it's a really romantic place. It really is a romantic. It's made for adults. You're not invited. Sorry.
Are you kidding me?
No, you're not invited.
I've taken off work and everything.
It is for.
I told all my clients I'm not going to work with them.
I'm not sure that you.
Joking.
I'm not sure that you reached the adult level yet.
No.
Have you? Okay, you are an adult. Okay, I'll grant you that.
Unbelievable.
I'll grant you that. You are an adult. I am an adult. And if you're an adult and you're having adult problems, like IRS problems, because that's an adult problem.
Those are adult problems.
Again, I met some people this week, and they said the same thing. A lot of my clients say, I'm really good at my job. I love working for myself. I'm just not really good at this paperwork stuff. I don't, and all of a sudden 1 year turns into 2 years, turns into 3 years. All of a sudden I haven't filed my tax return, and what do I do now? So that's when you call me, 312-664-6649, and we help you get back on the right track. And then we don't just abandon you then we can help you stay there. Okay, because that's important. That's the most important thing.
I have the same thing in my business, too. Remember, if you're looking to buy or sell real estate in Northeastern Illinois, 847-271-3695. That's my phone number, Jim Leahy with That Properties. That's the same thing I have, too. Got to make sure you stay on top of the paperwork.
Yes,
paperwork. You have to save everything that is.
There's paperwork in the bush. Tremendous paperwork in the bush. That's from In-Laws. The In-Laws. You've never seen the movie?
Oh, I have seen the In-Laws.
Yes, I love that movie.
It's an older movie.
It's one of my favorite movies. They redid it. That's how good it was.
Yeah. Well, ladies
as
and
we were talking about in the was that in this show or
guess
the other
what?
show?
The IRS redid itself too, and they still going to come after you. And when they come after you, you have to call Attorney Stephen Leahy with Open Tax Resolution. 312-664-6649 and visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. It's going to be your help to fight the IRS. Thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, same bat time, same bat channel on that one station we always love. You can go on YouTube. Look up Attorney Stephen A. Leahy. Look up Stephen A. Leahy on Facebook and watch our podcast. It's a great tool to help get you back on track. And we're out of here on AM 560.
The Answer. Good show.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. You have the number. You have the power. You can rewatch the video. There's no excuse for not getting back on track with the IRS.
I'm saying
Attorney Stephen Leahy, 312-664-6649. We want to thank you so much for tuning in. We've had a good time. Deborah Schreiner, best in the business. Best in the business with what she does. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week. Subscribe, like, share.